everyone, good evening. Welcome to the Merge podcast this evening, and we will be discussing how to find or how to get a high value man. On set this evening, I am joined by obviously Jayden Kareina and our beautiful guest and guru, Avril John, and our guest, Keisha Dione.
Beautiful. Good evening, everyone. We are happy to have you live with us right here on the Merge podcast. You can take this opportunity to like this video. You can share it, and please subscribe to the channel. We want to get those subscriptions up so that we can really have this message being pushed far and wide.
Yes, and this evening the topic is going to be hot. It's going to be blazing. We have persons joining from all over, and right now in the chat we want to know, do you know what's a high value man? Put yes, put no, put I don't know, put I don't care, but you just put something in the chat to get that chat going. And if you think you know what's a high value man, you can comment as well. Let us know what you think it is, and remember, click that share button, like it, and subscribe to our channel. Put it as your YouTube, put it as your WhatsApp status, share it on Facebook. Whatever you do, just engage with us. We'll be happy to hear from you.
So, Kareina, before we go to our guests and our guru, because we have two powerful persons with us on the platform this evening, who's really going to help us to delve into the topic. But we want to find out from our viewers online, what strategies, ladies, guys, you all keep quiet now, ladies, what strategies would you use to get yourself a high value man? What strategies would you use? Put them down in the chat here.
Yes, and we even want to know, what do you bring to the table of a high value man? That sounds a bit controversial, Jayden.
Yeah, we're gonna get into a lot more of it in a second. But before we get in there, we want to hear from you all. We want you all to share the live. Jump on now. We're looking. Good night, Sabrina Nichols. Her husband was on with us the last time.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to tonight's podcast. Beautiful. Whitney Morales, she says, God is the most high value man. Now, where she starts, all right. Well, I was going to say God is not a man.
All right.
Well, if you see her saying, husband in the back of the camera.
All right, big up the AV people right now. We have Brother Kenyon.
And when he heard that comment by his wife, he was pumping his fist behind the camera. One of these days we got a camera to turn around.
And we have Brother Joseph, our next high value man, joining us in set right now.
Yeah, we have a bunch of high value men in our circles. Yes, but we want to find out from our viewership, what do you do? What strategies do you engage to find a high value man? And so we're gonna go straight to our guests tonight.
Right. So let me do some introductions right now. Joining us at our White Table Talk on the Merge podcast, we have our guest Keisha Dione, who is an attorney at law. She is a sinner saved by grace, and guess what? She is married happily to the love of her life.
A high value man.
A high value man.
Amen. And we have our guru, Avril Henry John, and she is also happily married. She works at the University of the Southern Caribbean, the best university in Trinidad and Tobago. And she has a daughter, 10 years old, Avril, and she is, just a wonderful, bubbly, vibrant young lady. Avril, we are so happy that you are here as our guru this evening. Thanks for joining.
Beautiful. Well, we want to get right into it with our guest and guru. Good night. Thanks for being here. We want to start off with Keisha. We'll start with you first. And I want to ask you the question that we asked our online viewers. What strategy or strategies would you use or did you use to grab yourself as such a high value man?
Oh gosh, you did that first fight started with me. So for the viewership, before we were having some discussions, and I told them that I don't know what the definition of a high value man is, because I don't think that it's an objective statement at all, and I don't like the phrase high value because it inherently devalues persons. But if you ask me what I value in a man, then that's something different. And I'll be honest and open with the viewership. When I met my husband and we were dating, I am the one that had a lot of baggage.
Okay.
A lot of baggage. So he's asking me specifically what strategies that I use.
Yeah.
My husband knows who he is. He knows his weaknesses, he knows his strengths.
Right.
He's very, very in tune with who he is. He
Yeah.
knows his needs, he knows his wants. And coming from a background of hurt and bringing all this baggage into this new relationship, it had come to a point, a couple years well into the relationship, we got into a really bad argument. And he looked at me and he said, I cannot help you anymore.
Wow.
That you need to talk to somebody.
Right.
And I was like taken aback because he's now telling me that to deal with the issues that I had inherently, I had to seek therapy. And I put a plug there, Jayden, because...
No, I want to plug you myself. I get a little anxiety
Why?
Because you're saying a lot of stuff here because you said to me in the beginning, and you said to all of us here on the World Wide Web,
Correct.
all right, that you don't know anything about what a high value man is.
Seems
but you went on to describe.
Like a high value man.
I described my husband.
Well, praise the Lord, he didn't describe anybody else.
Correct.
But I mean, I think a high value man is indeed a subjective term. But to each woman, she's supposed to know what is a high value man to her. And that isn't to say that somebody else is a less value, but you're not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Agreed.
As they say, every bread has its cheese. So for
Amen.
me, but we must agree. I think we can agree that among mutual shared perspectives and among mutual cultures and among mutual religious moorings, that we all can spot when a man passes in front of us and he has a value that is a little above the rest. We must have admit that at least.
And when you say passes, you use the term passes in front of loosely, right?
Yeah.
That it doesn't necessarily mean you can see
this.
that,
Yeah.
but you know that his attributes or his traits that he has or possesses are valuable according to your culture and according to that worldview that you possess. So I see bringing you in the discussion one time, Guru. Tell me, what do you think a high value man is because you're married? And Jayden, we were talking earlier.
Yeah, first of all,
Yes.
I want everybody online to know why this sister here is the guru for tonight. I think she knows well how to get a high value
You know
man.
the sister here?
Of course, Sister Avril John. She is the wife of the pastor of the USC Church, a St. Lucian born, the Caribbean Church. And he is none other than Pastor Terry John, a very dynamic speaker, speak all over the world, a guy who I've grown to admire myself.
He's a cool dude.
But not only that, here's what I want to say, right? As a man, I could look at Pastor Terry John and know he's a high value man.
Okay. He is.
He is. That's just the reality. I don't devalue anyone else, but within our circles, within our fraternity, within our culture in Trinidad and the Caribbean, I look at the guy and I know he's a high value man. Based upon who he is, what he brings to the table, all these different types of things. So in our unique context, I'm not saying that anybody is less, but within our context, I believe that all of us will know what is really in a room of 100 men. We know who are the most eligible bachelors in there, and like who the girls want to go after. And it can be a bunch of different things. The ladies looking at me like they want to pet me on the podcast now. But it can be a bunch of different things. It can be looks, if you're going for that. It can be education. It can be engagement. But Keisha said something very important. Yeah. And I have my script here with me. A little bit I looked up what a high value man is. Definition. And I'll read a few pointers. It says, I'll get back to it just now because I'm going to describe it and then I'm coming back to Sister Avril here. It says, a high value man exudes confidence. Confidence, yes. He knows his worth and he doesn't seek validation. Right? He is assertive but not aggressive. he sets boundaries for himself and for the persons around him, how they would treat him, etc. He articulates his desires effectively. He has a clear purpose and is moving towards it, and he's open to personal growth.
Jayden, that sounds like a perfect man.
Well, based upon what Keisha just described, she said her husband,
She said it
or her boyfriend then, he was very confident. He knew where he stood. He was
He knew his worth,
and he was like, very, very clear and articulating. I can only
even
help
the
you up to this
boundaries
point.
of assistance that he could have rendered, so he didn't feel like he was your savior to take you on board. So we wanna
So Keisha
find out.
does not know how she got this high value man.
No, you didn't. Listen, you didn't. I didn't finish answering the question. You asked me what strategies I used. At that point in time, I had to make up my mind whether or not I was going to allow this man to walk out of my life, or whether I would deal with the issues that I had. And at that point in time, as hard as it was to deal with the issues that I had to fix my brokenness. And that was the strategy that I used, because this man is on this level communicating with me. And if I'm on this level and I cannot meet him there, then to paraphrase, I had to up my game.
All right, and that's important as the discussion goes along.
Correct.
It is number one.
As the discussion goes along.
High value
And so sis, well I say sis with Avril.
Yes.
Tell us, what are some characteristics? So we heard from Keisha the different characteristics. We heard from Jayden the definition. What are some traits or characteristics you would value in a man or in that of your husband, seeing that you experienced lady in that way? So
and you don't have to only describe your husband. I mean, you can speak to our online audience, and like if you're looking for a guy high value, this is what you're looking for.
Yes, because we have persons, they want to know in the chat, and they just want to know. So share with us.
Yes, so it's very important, firstly, to know the frame of reference we are coming from, and that's a Christocentric one. So firstly, I would put in a God-fearing person. Right? That's very important. Following that, someone who is self-aware. And Keisha mentioned that. He knew himself and he was confident, assertive.
Nice.
I would put in a good looker.
All right. Well, I was waiting.
Yeah, somebody had to say it. Somebody had to say it.
I mean, right? A good looker. But also someone who is kind-hearted and is genuine. Someone who really looks out for you, someone who is supportive, someone who wants to see you grow. And I heard that from Keisha. He wanted her best.
Yes.
And he said, okay, you gotta do the work. Right? And someone who is there to support you in that journey.
Yes. That is that I love those gems. And and it also hinges on, sometimes you hear men may say, "I'm a man, they don't know what they want in a man." Can you all agree with that, or is it that we don't know what we want because we are speaking to two happily married ladies here, Jayden and I happily married, we know what we want. So, if a lady is not really clear, you define some characteristics, how does a lady know what to look for in a man? If they're putting up a front. Share some, Keisha, Avril, share some things. We don't want to be catfished out here, a man putting up a front and all of a sudden.
That's true. What? Okay, so it's important for every woman to know what she's looking for in a man. So if I say right now, make a list. Make a list of your do's and your don'ts. What you definitely cannot tolerate, what you believe is important. Once you have that, then you have to go down with what I call SMART. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound.
I like those two, the attainable and realistic.
You sound like a management specialist there.
Now, you have to do that. And in doing that, you have to realize, okay, am I up in the sky with what I am?
Because I was not going to say, many women have a list. As a matter of fact, many single women have a list.
And they want to check off all the boxes.
Now, when I'm saying that, I'm also going to say you have to make sure that you're doing the work on yourself. Because if I want a high value man, I better be high value myself.
All right, Keisha.
Because I don't want low value. So then why should I want a man to accept low value?
Yes.
You know, so that's where the realistic comes in. You have to be real.
You all heard why she's our guru.
Yes.
But one of the other reasons that we chose her as a guru is, besides her ability to choose a high value man in Pastor Terry John, it seems like it runs in the family. Because I understand her, she's married to the pastor of the university church. Her sister is married to Dr. Cyril Marshall, a lecturer at the university there. And he carries a lot of other titles. And I understand her next sister is married to one of the very famous St. Hilaire brothers.
What?
And so I'm trying to figure out.
You want to know if this thing is in her blood?
This is what I want to find out.
Is it in your blood? Is it that you just
your father and mother train y'all how to spot high value men? Because y'all seem to have been passing through Trinidad and taking them up all.
Well, and you missed out one. One is married to a manager of a credit union.
What?
Lord have mercy.
You need to have a seminar. But share with us.
Something you mentioned. And a lot has to come up with your nurturing.
Okay.
The importance of a stable home in developing an individual. Okay, and I want to emphasize this. For those of you who have your own families, you have young children, the stability in a home, the God-fearing nature you bring up your children, the way you speak into their lives, empowering, encouraging, supporting your children will help give them a value for relationships and what I call RI. Not religious instruction, but relationship intelligence.
Oh.
Where
that is nice.
They will be able to identify qualities of a spouse based on what they are seeing at home.
Okay.
So through the modeling, they would be able to see those attributes.
So now, my husband.
Pastor John, I hope you're watching this right now.
So, my love for him, I love my father very much, but he gonna get some competition for sure. You understand?
Nice.
For sure.
Beautiful. So I like that point. I want our viewers online, let that marinate as one person I know says, let it sizzle in your spirit. Let it sizzle in your spirit for a little bit. You see your upbringing, where you're coming from is a great aid in helping you to be able to discern what is a high value man. Because we have, and the reason that this topic is so pertinent is that we have a lot of young ladies out here searching for men. It was the great Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Creed Christopher Rowley, who says that women need to choose the men better.
Yes.
And we can argue how we feel about that statement, all right? That's not the point tonight. The reality of it is that there's some truth in that statement. That there may be women who are genuine. They're really looking for love. They're really looking for some good man to just, to spend the rest of their lives with. And they've just been bunks in their head. They've been finding, let me use a little American term here, dirt bags. They've been finding,
scumbags.
They've been finding the wrong ones. And so I think what you're saying is really important in letting women know, at least for the next generation coming, men as well, your daughters, the way you treat them, women, how you model, how you relate to your child father or your husband, how you relate to them, really models what the daughter should be and what she should aspire to have in her circle, in her space.
And Keisha, I see you deep in thought, and I'm replaying, what you would have shared earlier. And really and truly, from your perspective, do you think men are generally born with those characteristics that are valuable? Do you think they are made that way through nurturing, as Avril would have said, how women can look for those things and they're modeling? What's your take, or can you share a little view that what you may have on that kind of?
I agree with Avril's point of view that you are a product of your environment, and so it is learned behavior.
Okay.
But the woman might string me up in the chat online
come in the chat
a little bit, because why I was contemplative is the question that she said. It's often said that women don't know what they want.
Yes.
And I agree.
By men.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
With this. Why you look at me like that?
Mercy.
No, and I'll tell you why I agree. When I was younger, I had that whole list. I want this and I want that and I want this. So we have a list maker here now. How you mean? And you know, part of the list was the phenotypical, you know, okay,
hold on, you had to break that down for me.
Phenotypical.
Yes, okay, well, I had like a particular shade. I didn't marry that particular shade, but and all of those things. So a lot of on this want list is physical and but how much of the want list is ciphered through a need list?
Okay.
Okay.
So what
like,
you need?
What you need is not necessarily what you want.
Okay.
And so what you have a lot of women doing when they're picking these dirt bags is picking what they want. So they're picking the same man in a different shell and expecting different results.
Oh boy. And you know what they say about doing the same thing and expecting
insanity. So that's what I said. Women might string me up a little bit, but I tend to agree with that because like I told you all, I shared online earlier, I had a lot of work to do.
So how you got that epiphany to know exactly
$250 an hour every week?
Right. So this is important. So this is important right here, right now, because
but it's serious. Though.
Correct. I laugh about it, but it's serious.
A lot of women, we do have issues, and we have to take our mental health and past scars seriously because it impacts our relationships.
Yes.
Okay, and without doing the work, it is detrimental to relationships. So you may have a high value man, but you will lose that high value man if you don't deal with your issues.
Because I like that you put that in, because a lot of women can easily get a high value man based upon their aesthetic.
Based upon their looks,
Correct.
But the question is, can you keep this man? And in keeping, it's not just a physical keeping, but can you keep him engaged? And I mean, I'm not asking you to be
entertainment
film, but at the end of the day, two individuals have to connect.
Right.
Correct.
On a very deep level. And so what you're saying is that if you just caught your high value man based upon wearing a nice short skirt or anything like that,
a nice body,
then if you really don't work on yourself, you can lose him. I see really, really beautiful women that men break up with. I was like, boy, I don't want no part of that. It's just a lot of stress. And so the point here is made is very salient in that no matter what strategy you're using, the best strategy is to work on yourself, and develop yourself.
Definitely.
To grow to be that. You know, as Keisha was talking there, you know, I've been thinking, you know, that we saying high value man, and you know that a lady, you know, she can get a high value man. Is there anything that, in terms of strategy, is there anything that a woman shouldn't do to get a high value man?
Should not
do to get a high value man. Question, guys. While we think about it, let me just take some comments in the chat.
Yeah, I can handle the comments in
the
chat. Basically, somebody saying big up Mr. Burton. Big up you. Yes, and some others are saying you are describing me as a high value man, Jassy. We hear you. Maybe we'll bring Jassy on the podcast to show us what's a high value man like. And it's easy to get superficial with this topic, so we hope that's addressed, and we are addressing it even here right now. Antonia Figaro, we are looking more than just surface, we are going deeper. Somebody said, you know, what about, and this is on the point of that family and that stable family, what about if you have not come from a stable family and have that home stability, is there any hope, or can you really, find a high value man if you didn't have that at home?
Before we go on to those questions, we answer those questions, we just want to take some of your online engagement. Sabrina, she says, your upbringing can show you what you want or need, as well as what you don't want or need. Sabrina is there in the chat, knowing that she is comfortable at home, hopefully with her high value man there at home. We have also Boyd Gibson. Welcome to the platform. He says, speaking to Dana, he says, when all is said and done, we are responsible for our characters and not our backgrounds and our upbringing. Excellent contribution. And Whitney again, she says, I agree with Keisha. Some women are not sure about what they want. Sometimes what we think we want is based on where we are at in life and what we need at a certain point in our life.
And Whitney speaking also about introspection and prayer. And Sabrina, I mean, we have people hot in the chat. Maybe one of these days we'll bring you on in front of the camera.
Take it easy there, sister. We'll bring you on.
Basically, this is an important point as well. Women should not devalue themselves to keep a man that they think is high value. So this is important, as Keisha was saying. You have to have that self-worth and that value, and it's something we'll explore a little bit later. Jane, you'd like to say?
Yeah, something? So we're gonna go to those two questions. And the first question that I had asked before is there anything that a woman should not do in order should not do or be in order to get a high value man?
I would say it's pretense. You do not show anything that you are not, just to catch a big fish. What is done in darkness will come to light. Exactly. Wow. So you try to be as genuine as possible. But in doing so, you also do not go without God. You are setting yourself up for failure if you go without God. So those are two things I think a woman should not do.
Beautiful. Keisha.
My answer is general. I think a lot of people, their go-to phrase is, "That's how I is." So I get the comments in the chat that you shouldn't devalue yourself, and I totally agree. Once you know who you are, you know what your values are, you don't reduce those values to keep anybody. But at the same time, you need to understand if you're an effective communicator, if you are understanding and you are feeding and nurturing the person that you are with. And if you are not being that, because we only focus on women, and this is a Christian podcast, women are called to be a man's helpmeet. And if you are not fulfilling that role and your catchphrase is, well, that's how I is, and he just had to understand. No. You have to be willing to grow. And sometimes growth is painful.
Wow. Keisha has a kind of way of just sitting down there pensive and then just coming out real deep. It's like, Keisha.
And it's important, and those points that you all are touching on, especially with regards to knowing your value as a female. And I want to underscore too the importance of setting boundaries and things that you will not do in order to keep that man. And boundaries are not just what you say, but it's also how you conduct yourself, your behavior, what you might even wear, where you may even date, where you might even go to look.
Well, that I was actually coming to that question now, and so I can ask you one time. I'm going to put these two ladies on alert because they're going to answer it. We're going to let the rubber hit the road here now. In terms of, the rubber was always on the road, but we're going to warm it up a little bit.
To what? Warm it up?
Yeah. That's a guy concept, burning the time. All right.
We can. We know.
All right. So, is there anything practically that we can say to a young Christian lady who is looking for a high value man? And of course, we define high value as being what is high value to you. Of course, when we talk about looks and aesthetics, as Whitney said in the chat here, beauty is in the eye of the beholder and all that type of thing, right? But is there anything that a woman can do, or a place she can go, or anything practically she can do to put ourselves in a better position to see, to find, and to catch a high value
man. So basically you want to know where the high value men are?
Well, you can tell us if you know.
Well, I mean, okay.
I'll say GPS.
GPS.
God's positioning system.
Right, God's positioning system.
Yes, man.
But basically, I think high value men can be found at these locations. No, I'm just going to be real here now, right? Because I would hinge on some of the characteristics that was said. A guy that is God-fearing, you're self-aware, different things like that. Now, you could come from in the chats, or you can even put some places you know high value men are, but I'm going to go out and say this. At church, while it might say the baddest men in church and the baddest girls in church.
That may be true too.
That may be true. But I want to say, you can observe a high value man even in your local congregation, and it doesn't have to be in your local congregation, you can go visiting as well. You are not going visiting churches to look for men, but you are going to expand your network.
Why not?
Alright. I don't want to come out and just say it like that.
Come out and say it.
Right?
If you're going to church to look for a nice
you have to start
for fellowship.
Yes. So you basically ask God to guide you, and the thing is, you are not being desperate, you are not being anything of the sort, but because of, let me just caution against this, don't try looking for high value men on dating sites. Don't try looking for high value men on just so. Try and go and see in person, or let somebody refer you to a high value man or about a high value man. But I think in churches, I think at USC, that's where I found Jayden. So basically, I think those are some of the places. Also at youth retreats.
No.
Me.
You?
Yeah.
Youth retreats. I think conventions. You know, young people, don't stay home from the convention because the place is too you go out to the convention.
There's not too much people there.
But that's where you can find fellas. You can go to beach games.
And don't find the fellas and the whole liming outside the convention.
No.
Find the ones who sit down listening to the sermon like
or somebody in AV, you know, you can look in the AV department.
Working for the Lord.
Working for the Lord. Pathfinders, come on. So that's from our perspective.
In some cases, you can find the preacher himself. Have mercy.
Amen. You can go and you just...
So ladies, what do you have to say to this? Is there any place, there's anything, what can a woman practically do to find a high value man?
Or where they could find one.
Or where they can find one.
Are you asking them where they found theirs?
Well, my dear sister Avril already said she found hers at the Great University of the Southern Caribbean, where many matches were made.
Yes. But we made the match, and the relationship was long distance for a while.
Okay.
Right? So it had to survive the long distance, and that's where good communication. We became best friends while we were apart.
Okay.
Okay. So finding, where do you find that person? It's wherever you are going while walking with God.
Okay.
And so it doesn't have to be a particular place, but you have to be led by God for the relationship. And the relationship has to be determined by Him. Without Him, it won't make sense. It won't survive, right? And once you're following His will, you will find that high value man. But it's also knowing that you are guided by Him, but you're also going to have your own ideas of what you're looking for. And being very observant.
All right.
So the relationship has to develop over time, so you could see the complete span or scope of someone's behavior, interaction in various situations.
Okay.
If you never see the person get angry, why are you going to get married to that person?
Because it could be a proper cycle. Huh?
Exactly. So full scope, how they treat their parents, their siblings, how they interact with children, you want to see everything. So the military term reconnaissance,
you have to do a serious reconnaissance.
They call me CSI. I investigate everything.
Yes.
And that is proper intelligence, relationship intelligence, right here. You heard it right here with Avril. And I like the point, and I just want to underscore and highlight it. Give the relationship time.
Correct.
Do not rush into it.
Don't seal no deal.
Don't seal no deal.
Don't attempt to sign anything.
No contract.
Don't link yourself before anything.
No chains.
Observe. And then make an educated decision before.
Yes.
Take your heart off your sleeve. Be objective. So that you don't go down blindly into a pit.
I think that's very important because it hinges. Keisha, sorry, before I go on, Keisha, you want to chime in on Avril?
Oh, no, I agreed with the statement that you said, wherever God is leading, that is where. So it's not going to be a physical building. So when I was younger, I said, I used to think that the guys in church, same thing like the guys outside. Same thing. I wasn't seeing anything different. I wasn't, they weren't acting different, at least from my point of view. And as I got older, I realized that I was, how to put it, ignorance of my youth. Because at the very base, they had a foundation that was based on Christ. So even if what I was seeing was backsliding and all of that, they still had a foundation that was built that they could hold on to. So there is a difference. There is a difference.
So, yes.
As it relates to, how you find what I was thinking about is the story of Abraham and Sarah, and God's promise came to my mind. And I was like, sometimes we say, okay, we're going to wait on God for this thing. But we really go and help, because we have a concept in our mind of what we want.
Yes.
And so probably God is not leading you.
We give him a little help.
Yeah, so we want to help. And so the first person that jump up, and yes, they have 3 things on the checklist that you have. But like Avril said, I always tell young people, make sure that you see this person in every season of their life. How do they deal with happiness? How do they deal with sadness? How do they deal with financial lack? Have you seen them grieve the loss of a loved one? When they are angry, how do they respond? Can they communicate when they're having all of these emotions? And we don't often take the time to go through those seasons and observe before we jump head in. And when you jump head first into a body of water that you can't see the bottom, you know what happens?
You could bounce your head, you could do all kind of things.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so 50-50.
So that brings up the point of you need to see the person. It's a what?
A little something going on my eye.
You need to see the person and you need to give the relationship time because you can possibly sabotage your own self.
Your blessing.
And you could sabotage your blessing. So this is where the whole issue comes up now. And we spoke about it in our past podcast, but we're bringing it up here as well. There are red flags that come up that sometimes we might be blinded or we don't want to see. In selecting, because essentially that's what we're talking about here, high value, whatever. We're basically talking about mate selection and how women can decide or consciously, prayerfully decide what is good, what is pleasing in God's sight. What are some red flags? And I want you all to be as candid as possible because sis, you said you need to see them angry. What is you're getting in relationship for if you ain't seeing these things? Tell us what are some red flags because trust me, women are suffering at the hands of men. Some might be because they didn't, but you share with us. You share with us also.
Okay, so I think I have classification of red flags.
You go ahead.
So we have some safety.
Some pink flags?
No. They all red.
Okay.
But they are grouped. So they are safety red flags. So like for example, is this person abusive? Physical. That's a definite red flag that you're not even going to dispute. The person can kill you. Your life is valuable.
How can you know that?
Right, so as in a range of exposures. I'm not saying set them up to see, but you're seeing how explosive their temper is and how they would react to certain things.
It's a good thing you clarified that because I was going to ask you. So you're going to say, hit me now? Ask them.
Well, actually, if you do say it and you see brother man come up with a right hand or left hand or undercut or hook something, you know that definitely would not be the one.
And this is
and not even in jest.
This is before marriage.
Before marriage.
Mm-hmm. No, but abuse is not just physical, though. You know,
no,
like
so
the
that's
definition.
So safety. So safety.
Safety is the classification.
Safety is the classification. It will include all forms of abuse and including substance abuse as well. Because someone who is drunk cannot determine their behavior. Their frontal brain is inhibited. You understand?
Yes.
So you cannot predict how they behave. Then I have.
Before you go on.
Yes. And I'll leave some room for other people.
So I love where you're going there. I just want to ask a question, and this is really for the online audience because we can't answer it tonight. But you can just probably give a yes or no. As you speak about safety in the context of a marriage relationship, I'm wondering if a husband can rape his wife in the context of marriage, or if it's just considered, due benevolence.
That's illegal.
Yes. So I would have said I would have let the lawyer.
Leave it there. That's illegal.
I said I would have let the lawyer answer.
Consent is
even in marriage.
Even in marriage.
Even in marriage.
Okay. Lovely.
And even in marriage, right?
It's Sabbath, Jayden. I'd like not to work on the Sabbath.
So if he too thirsty.
You go in and
no, I'm talking about safety.
I'm
talking about safety. So you have to consider these things when you're considering safety because somebody may, I'm just thinking while this weekend, somebody may physically hit somebody out of an argument, but somebody may come home too and the wife may say she's not in the mood and he may force herself on her and that to me is abusive.
Okay, so
that's safety as well.
Put it in the chat, ladies. How many of you have heard a man say, I have a high sex drive? Which they all apparently do have. But you have to also try to put it in perspective. And it's a discussion that you should have before marriage. And it's a discussion that you would continue to have during marriage. Right? What they would expect. And you have to know if this can work for you, right? And some of their expectations are unrealistic. But it's also something that you would have to work on with God because a lot of men have addictions coming into marriage.
Wow.
All right.
That are unconfessed, unknown to you, and it can cause problems. And I've seen it with couples and know it with youth, right? And it can affect marriages. Okay. So
all of these fall under the category of safety.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
It can be like a sub kind of.
Yes. And safety and intimacy.
Yes.
Right? Because it will create a big crevice or divide in a marriage. Where a husband might say the wife isn't providing needs. A wife may say he's being abusive.
Okay.
The in-between is where they'd have to work together to resolve the issue. Where it might be she becoming more understanding to his needs and he addressing some of his issues with addiction. So you see where the balance comes.
So that's where we need, sorry Jayden. This is where we need open and honest communication.
Correct.
And so, I should tell you my business. Yes.
I'll start on the topic.
That's a clear this with your husband.
It's fine.
Before Keisha talk, all you share the link. Everybody wants to know Keisha.
Go come. You will see the true colors as the truest sense of see me come live with me.
Oh gosh.
All right.
I'm gonna tell you about my business. So,
all right.
I told you I came into the relationship with a lot of baggage, right?
Right.
And I was a pressure cooker communicator. You know what that is?
No.
So everything is held in until you can't hold it anymore. And then when the last piece of steam reach, you just explode. Which is unhealthy. Alright? Because the man maybe put the shoe there and I tripping off of a shoe or something. So this is before we got married, right?
Right.
My husband though, he communicates, and there's
quite effectively.
And there's something that he would ask me to do at the end of discussions. And I have to laugh because he would say, can you summarize what we just said? Because I would get upset all over again because I was now part of this conversation. I don't understand. And so
I want to take a sip for brother.
a couple of years.
As a high value man.
A couple of years ago, I decided that I wanted to become a certified mediator in Trinidad.
Oh,
and so I go to the class, and communication is obviously, and that is the main tool or one of the major tools of an effective mediator. And the woman asked, we're going through the communication process, and it's not just what most people think about it, sender, receiver. You go in depth about, what are your own biases? Are you listening to the person, active listening? Are you listening just to respond? Are you understanding what they're saying? And when we come to the end of the process, the lady says, and the last thing you must always do is summarize. I'm vexed.
Yeah.
I know. Because
it's like you're getting it right.
I'm getting it right through. And I get mad all the time with it. And I don't even want to go home and tell him how class was because
well, my husband is looking at this and he is in his glee, I'm sure. Because so many times he would say you would listen to it if somebody else tells you. And and it shows that your spouse or whoever you're in a relationship with really wants to see your growth. They want your best interest. So sometimes you just have to take it.
And it's so important though, because we can have a whole conversation and you leave with a different understanding from what I said or what I intended to say. Because words mean a particular thing to me and it mean a particular thing to you. So tone also plays an important part, but in describing the situation where the husband has needs and the wife feels unprotected, that is where open, honest, effective communication comes into play. And I often say that many a conflict can be solved with a conversation. And we really do not know how to have conversations. We talk to respond.
We have arguments.
Not to understand where the other person is coming from. And that has to change if relationships are to be better.
Beautiful guys. We're gonna go head to the break just now, but when we come back from the break, I want to hear from the ladies, all the three ladies.
More from the ladies.
We're gonna hear from them on this particular topic. I wanna ask the question about diamonds in the rough. You see this guy, and many may not consider him a high value man because of the way he may carry himself, etc. But as we spoke about what you're looking for and what you want as opposed to what you need, and diamonds in the rough, we're gonna answer that question when we get back. And we're gonna go to a short break. We will be with you shortly. Hang on there.
Because we said I do end of year marriage retreat, it's entitled The Marriage, happening on the Tobago Plantations on December the 13th to the 15th, 2024. At this enrichment experience, you can experience those meals, accommodations, couple seminar, and a banquet on the golf course. If this is something that you are interested in, you can visit our Merge website at mergefamily.org and you can register. Now, this is an experience to enrich your marriage. You are celebrating that marriage covenant and you would like to be a part of something special. Don't forget The Marriage, the Tobago Plantations, Because We Said I Do, December the 13th to the 15th, 2024. Be there and register today.
Right, we're here back again. We're going to talk about diamonds in the rough, ladies. As we speak, there are persons who are bypassing their blessings because he or he may be a diamond in the rough. What are your takes on this?
I believe you have to listen to God to guide you for those diamonds in the rough, or those old ladies who see things that we young people don't see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it as a fact. They see what we do not see. They see potential. They see aspiration. They see talent. They see passion that just needs to be nurtured. So diamonds in the rough, they just need some care. Now, any jeweler would know what you see coming out the earth looks nothing like the bling on your ring. The process to get it like that takes a lot of work. So, correct. So,
Beautiful.
I applaud people who can do the work to untap potential, but it's not for everyone. Because if you are going to become someone who gives into a life, who encourages, supports, and takes that long journey, it is a task that will also drain you. Drain you, meaning emotionally, you're going to be there to support. You're going to have to put your resources. You're going to have to put your time. You're going to have to do the work. But it is rewarding. Okay? Now, I'm sure you're going to hear stories, or there might be someone in your community. The person might just be a skillsman, a tradesman. But he has a beautiful home. His children are educated because his wife gave into that life. She might have been the business brains, or she might have been the motivator. She would have been holding the money and controlling the finances. He had the talent. He would have encouraged, you can open your own shop. Don't just work for someone else. You can do this. And their family has succeeded. Somebody else would have, he is my son-in-law. Never. Not me and my good child.
I like that you say that, because that is the reality that we're dealing with. And so I'm going to go to Keisha now. We have situations even sometimes where the older folk, and so you spoke about the good older folk.
Yeah.
There are some older folk who would look at the guy you bring home and say, you ain't have no money. Or,
can't make love on a hungry
they can't make love on a hungry belly and all these types of things. Would we still consider him a high value man? Would you still encourage a woman to to engage an individual like that? And let's say even the topic of looks. Everybody wants a good looking guy, and of course some like them hot, some like them cool.
Somebody said he can't be too good looking.
Because you'll be, if the person is, I would say, if the person is too good looking, you're setting yourself up for trouble as well. And if it's somebody who likes the attention, so there's a difference. There's good looking, but understands himself and boundaries and responsibility. But there's good looking and want the attention. Good looking and want the attention.
So the question really, Keisha, that guy who everybody is passing, and let's use the concept of church, and he may not be the best groomed person, because I've witnessed myself, unfortunately, mothers deter their daughters from engaging a young man, and he may be the kindest person, he may be the most God-fearing person, he may have all these things that we are speaking about as a high value man. It is just that his attire is really appalling.
Appalling. So,
He mismatch and thing, polish his shoes for church, pants wrinkle.
If it's attire, that's superficial. So that can fix. When I was listening to Avril answer the question in relation to a diamond in the rough, and at the end of the day, is one so I'll answer for me. When I was studying, a couple years ago, somebody asked that question, and they asked the question specific to my future job as opposed to what my husband now, his profession is. And they were...
so they were kind of matching it. So
matching.
He will be this and he will be that and what? Okay.
And I remember, like I said, I came into this coming from baggage, right? I had a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
And that baggage came from a previous dating relationship.
Oh, wow.
And so when I weighed finances, that didn't, the world thinks that a high value man is somebody who have a lot of money.
And in the chat, that's what they were saying.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And all these kinds of things. But at the end of the day, what I valued in my husband was his ability to communicate, his ability to make me a better person, his ability to bring out that submission that that God has put in a woman, that help meet. I want to help him succeed and all of that. Now, when you're talking about a diamond in the rough, the person could have the whole of potential, but what are they doing to achieve their potential? Because at the end of the day, I am not. Well, let me say this: I subscribe to. I kind of take love to Massey. I'm sorry, that's just the reality. I could love you as much as I want, but if you are the best carpenter out there and you are just sitting down not doing anything, I am feeding and pouring into you and you just
anywhere.
Right, taking up space.
Correct. It's not correct. And sometimes
ambition has to be there.
It has to be there.
It don't have to be there. It have to be out there too. I'm ambitious.
That'll be all.
That'll be out.
And it isn't unique to
ambitious as a verb.
It isn't unique to young men. I know the conversation is geared towards women and women looking for a partner, but that is not unique to the young woman as well. You cannot have that whole of potential. You're so best with doing hair and all of these things,
but not doing anything.
You're not doing anything because your concept is that, well, okay, no.
So to Kareina, I hit you the question in the same vein. What would you
answer?
Yeah, what would you say to this? We oftentimes, when we're looking for a mate, except for what I'm hearing here tonight, many times we hear people advising you to find a man who is almost there. This because they say things like, you can't buy a bird unless you have a cage.
Okay.
Right? They say all these things in terms of a tailor. But I remember Rani Horn. I'm not sure if he's on tonight.
Rani, are you on the chat? If you're on in the 76,
Paging Rani.
Paging Rani. If you're on, let us know. We are now going to talk about some things you put up there.
I remember we were at the bachelor party of a high value man, and Rani was saying that we teach our young ladies to aspire to find men who have already attained.
When I say we have teach, society. People,
teach our young ladies to find a man who has already attained, and we don't teach them to find a man and to spot a man who has ambition and who's growing. And I've been looking at some other podcasts, and the question is, a man and a woman around the same age, in your late 20s and stuff. But we grew up the same time, went to school around the same time, started working around the same time. You don't own a house as a woman yet, but somehow the man's supposed to have a house. All right? And so the question I really ask you, how do we treat with this challenge of telling our young ladies, hey, find a man, because we're looking for financial stability, because you cannot take I love you to the bank, to Massey, you can't take it. So how do we find this balance, to really help our young ladies? Because you can't take love to the bank, but at the same time, you don't expect a man 25, 26 years old, you're looking for love. You want him to have car, you want him to have house, you want him to have everything set.
Wait, Jayden, are we qualifying the age group here?
We qualify the age group.
It's the same age? Okay, all right. Okay.
Same age, and I'm talking to the younger ones now, not in their 30s. Those in their 20s.
30s all or what?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we must be realistic.
Yeah.
Honestly, I came out of university and had a modestly paying job before I got married.
I like how you stress the modest.
Yes. I couldn't amass anything. And my husband had just become an intern pastor.
Right.
He couldn't amass nothing. We did not own a house, but we built it together. Okay? So you must be realistic.
Here you have a real big house.
We did literally build a house. Okay? So we built what we have together, and it took work, and we both contributed towards it. And in doing so, it bonds you. Because now, well, you're paying a mortgage, so we don't have to make it. But no, realistically, you're creating it together. So you take part of ownership. You know it's yours. You feel pride and you work towards that goal. For someone who might be older, you may be able to amass more. But I'd still want you to be realistic. You can't want the man to have this all and you're not contributing anything. If he's coming with a house, you come with the vehicles. I don't know. I'd say be realistic about it.
Right.
You know, all your savings should not remain in an account for you that he knows nothing about.
Hi, she's trying.
And that was one of my red flags, which I had on the finances. Financial health. What are his views on financial
I feel
health?
somebody know the topic for next month. Go ahead.
Next month's topic is no money, no love.
All right.
So you don't want to miss that one next month, the second Friday night of the month, right here, 8 p.m.
Yes.
And so we're talking about the same issues. I'm going to go back to Kareina now in terms of this man. So Avril and Keisha said it really nice. But how do you, I want to hear practically, how do you advise a young lady to strike that balance? What is she looking for to understand, hey, I can't find a man who has already have everything, but I also can't find a man who not like beating a dead horse. What's the balance in that?
All right, so with regards to that, I want to hinge on Avril's point of being realistic. And at the same time, you can't judge persons with basically you can't judge them on an unrealistic yardstick, and you have to understand where you are also at as a person. So you are not using the same metric to judge them and yourself. You can't do that. You have to use the same metric, because at the end of the day, you want to come together as a unit, and you want to come together to build something together. And you can't have a mindset where you have, I am okay and you are not okay. I am somehow, you have the book there?
Yeah, man.
All right. I am okay, you are not okay, which means I am better in this relationship. I have this amount, and you have that perception that somehow the person has to be dependent upon you as well, and you make the decisions, and you are not able to build an empire, a legacy together. You really want to have that bond together. So if you're going to build a marriage, if you're going to enter into a covenant relationship, you have to view the person as an equal to you, and also engage in that. So basically, some things to look forward or look at if that person has not reached where they would like to be. They have to have certain dreams and attributes. They have to share it with you. You'll have to agree as a unit. This is where you'll eventually want to be, and you build together. It's important that the man knows his purpose. This is important because you are called to be his helpmeet. And if a man does not know his purpose, then you will not know how you are best to help him achieve that purpose. So I think that is important in establishing a marital relationship or something. That's a green flag. Someone knowing their purpose, or a man knowing their purpose, and they have not accomplished yet. If they know they want to start a kitchen, they can't be wanting to start a kitchen and they home every time. Is their mother have to cook right through? They're not cooking at home, or they're not doing a little something. He ain't even bringing no food for you, but he wants to start a kitchen. Pie in the sky. You have to be realistic about these things. So these are just there's just a few points that I have. Purpose, and they have to be ambitious and have their goals set out and doing small steps.
Jayden, I have a question. coming up from.
And we could talk whole night, yeah, but
coming out from your question, with young women looking at a high value man that they want must come with everything. So what happens when that man is unable? So let's say, because somebody shared a scenario with me. Wife got married, people together more than a decade, husband comes, loses his job. Now she had a stable job. But here's what, he can no longer provide the things that she became accustomed to.
Correct.
And so I remember thinking, and I told my husband, I said, but that person would have married for better and best. And not for better or worse.
Yeah.
And then if it is that you're a young woman looking for a man who has everything, who is to determine that the man who has everything wants a woman with nothing?
Well, I don't know. I don't speak for all men.
So,
however, I personally, sorry, I'm knocking up this thing here. I personally think that many men who are worth their salt don't really look at a woman for financial gain.
Oh no, when I say for nothing, I'm not talking about the physical, because a lot of the conversation that I saw online is asking women what they bring to the table and women getting upset about that question.
Now, when a man asks what a woman brings to the table, in my opinion, 9 out of 10 times, well, 8 out of 10 times.
Please put it in the chat, Jassy.
We're not asking about money. The money conversation comes up because women are so adamant that men must bring a dollar figure and he must earn a certain amount. And so the guys come and like, so what you bring to the table? But from a guy's perspective, I know of a very few men who go in search for a woman and look for a woman who's financially stable.
Heavy money.
One of my things on my list is a woman who have bank. She have purse. No, I don't hear that from guys.
I want a woman who have a car.
I've heard it from a couple guys. I mean, I've been in the streets and a couple taxi drivers, I was like, see me on a broken woman, I want a purse.
I want a woman who could spoil me.
Hey, to me, that if you start there, you start really bad. But guys generally don't want a woman.
No.
So when a guy asks what a woman brings to the table, it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's about how I'm feeling when I'm with you, as we mentioned earlier. A woman was designed by God to be a man's helpmeet. And so innate in a man's biology is a desire to have a helper.
Correct.
And now it's important for us to understand the biblical aspect of it. A helper is not less than the man. No. A helper is equal to the man. As a matter of fact, this is my opinion here now. I think that any wise person would choose a helper who's better in him than a lot of stuff. As a business person, the wisest businessmen choose their staff who are more proficient than themselves.
Okay.
And so their accountants is better, their lawyers are better, and that's how the business goes far, because they choose people who's better than themselves.
They build their team well.
Exactly.
And it's a strategic move in relationships as well, but it's also why God put you two together.
Exactly.
The Bible says, iron sharpeneth
iron. And so when I look at the fact that a woman being a helpmate comes into a man's life, I look at women, that is why God made women with the ability to multitask. That's what I say all the time to my family, my wife. Men cannot multitask. But because God designed a woman to be a helpmate, she is able to multitask. And so I am just struggling to pull things together for this program here this evening. But my wife is able to take care of baby. She's able to do this. She's able to call persons on the phone and organize this thing. She is helping me in a way that I cannot help myself. And in order for my life to be, to fulfill its fullest potential, I really need to come close to her and come together with her, work together with her for us to be able to accomplish all that we need to accomplish. And so my wife being my helpmeet is critical. But I think men, that's what we look for. We don't really look for, they say, well, she have a good job. No, if you have a good job, and we go say, nah.
So when I say that a man with everything, I'm not just talking about the financial aspect of it. That's what society narrows it down to. But when it's for everything, it's not just the finance. You're a good communicator, effective, your spiritual needs. What is this woman adding to you? And you've just said it correctly. Kareina is your helpmeet in every single way. So a man who has everything and requires a helpmeet to make his, to utilize your analogy, his business grow and his business of that's himself grow.
On their life,
If you are bringing nothing to that, you are not helping him in any way. You look nice.
Trophy girlfriend,
nice.
wife.
But that's about it.
You can't be his peace.
Correct.
You can't be his confidant.
You be his problem.
You can't be his friend.
His cheerleader.
Correct.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so what y'all are saying here is essentially boiling down into where we started off, which is in order to find a high value man and to keep a high value man, you yourself have to be a high value woman.
Correct.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm seeing a lot of controversy here if we speak this in certain platforms, because we're now basically defining certain gender roles. And we live in a society that's kind of trying to get away from gender roles.
A blurred, a blurring of all the lines, no gender roles, no stereotypes, nothing like that. But I think it's important to underscore that is how we can have order, that's how we can be symbiotic, that's how we can have cohesion within our homes, within the family unit that God has designed. That is how we can live in God's perfect will and purpose for our life.
So before we put a wrap on this evening, we had an enjoyable time this evening. We'll take one more question from Kareina and maybe a question from the comments if you all have any. But I just want to shout out a couple of people before we leave this evening. Brian Thompson, hey, he said, that's crazy how you can be too good looking. With the Rainbow, thanks for joining us. Antonio Figaro, Chad the Ramnat, I appreciate you all the way from down south. Thanks for jumping on here. Carissa McInnes, Belfast. I think she's from Tobago. I think she is. And Che Ramdeen. And all of you.
My brother-in-law, big up you.
Right. All of you who have joined us online tonight, we really appreciate your presence. This conversation cannot end here. No. These conversations are never exhaustive.
Right.
So we're going to come here month after month on the second Friday night of every month. Clear your schedules and be here. Remember to share these links so that more persons can view it and get the benefit of it. And remember, please subscribe. I looked at the metrics and most of you are not subscribed. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. It would mean the world to us, not just to us. It would mean the world to the message, getting the message out.
And you can just subscribe by tapping that subscribe button on our channel, and we'll be very happy about that.
Beautiful.
So as we put a wrap on things, we just want to hear from our guest and our guru, Avril and Keisha. What if it's one thing you would like to leave with our viewers, and you can speak to the ladies, one thing that they can hinge on when they are in that mode of looking or sifting out, or in that prayerful time about finding a high value man, a man of God? Please share that one thing or one gem with us that we would take before we put a wrap on things.
I would encourage all ladies to prayerfully seek God before choosing any spouse, any mate, and follow his guidance, whether it is patience, whether it is ask for discernment, and you just follow his will. You do exactly what he wants you to do.
Thank you so much, Keisha.
I totally agree with that. God first, last, and always. But a lot of young women have to do a lot of introspection as well. You know, when you sit in that quiet time with you and God, that introspection is going to allow you to see the things that is in you that you need to work on. I mean, rather than focusing on finding the right man, focus on being the right woman.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That's the nugget.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for sharing. Thanks for joining us here this evening.
We enjoyed the discussion.
And sharing with our audience. Thanks for joining us, our friends online. Next month, we're going to be dealing with the topic, no money, no love. We are going to explore the power dynamics and how money affects the power dynamic in relationships. If the woman has more money, if she's going to be more powerful, if the man has the control and say if he has more money.
Who holds the money?
All these and more we're going to discuss next month, the second Friday night.
Next month, it's Friday the 14th of June.
8 p.m. right on this channel. Once again, thanks for joining us because we are always better together.
Better with you. Thank you.